I was a curatorial intern at Hillwood Estate Museum and Gardens, and they had a dress that they thought may have been created by that designer, but no one had the chance to research it. So my intern supervisor allowed me to kind of take it on, which has been really exciting because people haven't really written much about Ann Lowe, so I'm finding some really kind of interesting things. She started her work because her mother and grandmother were seamstresses, so a lot of the techniques she learned were from kind of the 1900s. She moved to New York in the late 20s, and by the 50s she had a salon along Madison Avenue for a little while, which is really interesting because she was an African-American designer, and at that time that was really quite an achievement for an African-American designer. Her clients were exclusively kind of high society, social register folks, and they kind of kept her kind of under their hat for years. She would design dresses, wedding dresses, debutante dresses for the mother, the grandmother, the daughter, all the way down the line. What I found especially interesting was that so little was known about her. Even when I first heard about her, I thought, because she designed a dress for Jackie Kennedy, a wedding dress, and I thought perhaps maybe she was a housekeeper or something with the auction classes or something like that. I had no idea she was an established, really significant designer at the time.
We got the dress in 2003 from the actual person who wore it for her wedding. Her name was Ann Copeland, and she wore it at her wedding to Garrett Copeland, who was at the time the president, or the son of the president of DuPont. So it was a very big deal society wedding. She was actually married in New York, but her family originally came from Delaware. She was the one that donated it to us, and she gave it to us because her family had Delaware connections, and she wanted to have a prominent designer represented in our collections, and also they'd had a Delaware connection because of the family. She was wonderful. I found her listed in a Saturday Evening Post article from 1964 as a current client, and it was just a little thing saying that she was getting her dress made by Ann Lowe. So I kind of scoured the internet and looked her up and wrote her a letter, and she's very gracious in responding to me, telling me all about her experience getting this made for her. I was so excited to hear it was actually being preserved somewhere, you know, instead of like, oh yeah, we gave it to the Salvation Army. She was one of the first clients of Ann Lowe right after Ann had a significant cataract surgery on her one eye. She had an eye removed in the 50s, and her good eye ended up having a cataract, so she had to get that removed. So this is kind of a new beginning for her career. And she would work, I guess, for just about 6 more years and then retire. This dress really represents kind of the height of her success in a way, and it's so exciting to get the chance to see it, because some of her other more, I guess, well-known dresses are kind of difficult to see or off display because they're damaged. So this is really exciting to get the chance to see one close up. The wedding date was June 6th, 1964, so this is from the 60s. People tend to think of history as something old, whereas a historical society, we kind of are here to remind you that history is yesterday, history is still happening, history is ongoing, and the way we collect reflects that. So we have old things, but we also collect things which are much newer, like this dress here. It's just a very important time to touch base with people who became a client in the 60s and really can remember her, to talk to them about their experiences. So I think that's why this is so important right now, because if someone did the same thing in 10 years, it's really a lot of just kind of secondary sources and hearsay, but this way you're really going straight to people who had these dresses made for them. Research contributes tremendously to what we do, and every researcher that I have in for the collections down here, I love to be able to talk to them about what they're doing, and I love to be able to take what they've learned and also preserve it as part of the information about the piece, in addition to preserving the piece itself. Researchers really are the engine that drives forward everything that we do. You never ever have all of the answers. So researchers coming in and us being available to make the collections accessible to them for their research is really one of the cornerstones of what we do as museums. The smaller institutions are just so fantastic for research purposes. Like, they're so welcoming, and it's a lot easier to get in, and this kind of access at a place like the Met wouldn't ordinarily happen. I am looking for the materials that she used. I'm looking for different techniques she may have used in her finishing. This was done in a shop. She had several employees at the time, so I'm
hoping it's kind of like tracing a little like trail of breadcrumbs from dress to dress to see techniques that were kind of exclusive to her being used, especially on the inside of the dress, the seams and things like that.
I see certainly Margaret's research contributing to what we know about the dress, and it will certainly be useful for any future exhibits that we would do that would involve the dress.
I'm hoping to get a few articles that can really kind of add to kind of the information available about Ann Lowe. I just think it's really important, and actually one thing I am excited about is that I can write this, find great information, and pass it along to different curators at different organizations that may have a piece. Other people I've spoken to at other museums have asked for parts of my research to help complete their files because really very little has been known about her.